All right, hello class. This is Algebra 1, 13.9, Part 1, 30, 60, 90 triangles. Okay, today is a little bit more involved than normally. We are talking about a special type of triangle that has a 30-degree, a 60-degree, and a 90-degree angle. And they're called 30, 60, 90 triangles. Now, the last lesson, we learned about a special kind of triangle called the 45, 45, 90. And that was a triangle which had a 90-degree angle that was demarked by the little square on the 90 degrees. Then you had an angle over here and an angle over here. And both of those were worth 45 degrees, right? And that was your 45, 45, 90 triangle. Today, we have a different kind of triangle. That still is a right triangle because it has a 90-degree angle. We call that the 30, the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So called because we have an angle here that's 30 degrees, a larger one that's 60 degrees, and then of course, our regular 90-degree angle. All right, what is special about this 30, 60, 90-degree angle? Well, it's the sides. If you look here, the 30-degree angle will always be opposite of the shortest leg or the shortest side of these kinds of triangles. The 60-degree angle will always be directly opposite the longest side, well, the long side, not the longest side, the long side of the triangle. And then, of course, your 90-degree angle is always pointing towards the hypotenuse. All right, so I'm going to redraw this triangle with the correct colors and their sides. So the short side will be green. The long side will be red. And then the hypotenuse, which is really the longest side, but we're not going to call it that. We're going to call it the hypotenuse. Its proper name is blue. The hypotenuse is opposite the 90-degree angle. And there it is. The short green side is opposite the 30-degree angle all the time and always. And then the longest or the longer side, the middle, the medium side, is opposite the 60-degree angle. Okay, so there you have it. I have color-coded the angles, their corresponding sides. All right, now we're going to talk about the relationships between the lengths of the sides. So I recommend you always keep this out on a sticky note or your notepad or a piece of paper as a reference guide when you are solving your normal problems with the 30, 60, 90 and the 45, 45, 90. There is no reason to memorize this at all for any reason. We have Google, we have computers. You can use your notes, all right? We just need to know how to solve them. So here's the relationship. The long side, that red long side, is always going to be whatever the length of the short side is times rad 3. That's always going to be the relationship between the short and the long side. That the long side is always the short side multiplied by rad 3. The short side will always just be the short side, whatever its length is. Sometimes they will give it to us, sometimes they won't. And the hypotenuse in 30, 60, 90 triangles is always 2 times whatever the short leg is. So 2 times whatever the short leg is, or the short side, okay? So take about 10 seconds or however long it takes you, pause the video and copy this chart down. because this is the basic formula for finding any side of a 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, let's do an example and figure out how to use this key, okay? I have a problem here. I'm going to draw it out. I've got my short side, I've got my hypotenuse, and I've got my long side. Here's where the color coding is really going to help us to keep things organized. Okay, so I always know that my long side is directly opposite 60 degrees. I know for a fact that my short side is always opposite 30 degrees. And I know my hypotenuse is always opposite 90 degrees. We're good so far. The problem tells me that my short side is worth 5 feet. So we already know it's 5 feet. It's telling me find the long side, m, the length of the long side, m, and the length of the hypotenuse, n. So we're looking for n and m. Here's how we do it. We start with what we know. We know for a fact the short side is 5 feet. All right, start with facts. You know the short side is equal to 5 feet. All right, now I can use my key. I'm using my key and I say, okay, what relationships can I draw here? Well, I also know that my long side, which is on the bottom in red, is equal to whatever the short side is, the length of the short side multiplied by rad 3. I ask myself, do I know what the length of the short side is? Yes, I do. It's right above it. It's 5 feet. So now I can rewrite my equation. Long side, I'm going to abbreviate, is equal to short, which is the length of the short side, which is 5 feet. I'm going to drop the feet for right now because it's not useful, times rad 3. So the long, if I clean it up, is equal to 5 rad 3. So we know the long side now. In fact, we can even fill it in. M is equal to 5 rad 3. All right. Next, I now need to find only n. And n is my hypotenuse, right? Looking at the key here and here. And my hypotenuse, I'm going to abbreviate it hype. Get hype, man. The hypotenuse is always, according to my key, 2 times whatever the length of the short side is. I'm starting to realize that this is actually quite simple. Once I know one side, I can basically do some basic algebra to figure out the rest. So my hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the short side. Do I know what the short side length is? I do. The short side length is what they told us was 5. So now I know for a fact, doing basic math, that my hypotenuse is 2 times 5, which is 10 feet. N is equal to 10 feet. And so I have resolved a rather complicated looking problem into a very simple problem, simply using this key here. So don't forget to write down your key and use it. The short side is 5 feet, long side is 5 times rad 3. There's nothing more you can do there. And then the hypotenuse is 10 feet. That's our 30, 60, 90 triangle. Let's try one more problem. Let's see how we do. All right, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to erase that. I don't need any of this anymore. I'm going to draw a new 30, 60, 90 triangle. And that will be the last for this lesson. All right, I'm gonna leave my key up there. I don't need this anymore. I don't need this, yada, 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 it's all gone. Okay, so let's see what I have here. I'm going to draw this triangle. The triangle has a short side. We don't know what the short side value is. We're going to call it A. It has a long side value. Notice how I'm keeping my colors consistent. I want to do that as much as possible. My long side is 6 feet. And my hypotenuse, and notice how slowly I'm going. There's no need to rush any of this, which is called C, is unknown. We also know it's opposite the 90 degrees. We always know that the 30 degrees is opposite the short side, and the 60 degrees is opposite, oh, the wrong color, is opposite 60 degrees, okay? Don't forget to write your degree symbol. I don't do it because I don't have enough space, but that's a good habit to keep. All right, now all I have to do is apply the key to this triangle to figure out what my short side value is in length and what my hypotenuse is. So again, let's start with some facts. What do we know for a fact? Again, using the key. Well, I don't know my short side yet. I don't know my hypotenuse, but I do know my long side value. My long side value, according to the key, I'm going to abbreviate, is the short side times rad 3, right here, long. I put it, I'll just write L for long. Okay, equal, so no one gets confused. Is whatever the short is times rad 3. All right, I think to myself, I can replace the word long side with the value of the long side, right? The value of the long side is 6 feet. Because that's really what long side stands for, right? It stands for the length, the value. So it's telling me that 6 feet is equal to some value for short, for the short side, times rad 3. Well, from what I remember about how to solve variable equations, the short is technically a variable equation, right? I can rewrite it 6 equals some value for the short, for s, times rad 3. Now it looks like something I'm familiar with. Now all I'm doing is solving for s. Well, how do I isolate the variable? I'm going to divide. The inverse operation of multiplication is division by rad 3 to this side. That's going to cancel each other out. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I'm going to clean this out, or clean this up now. So now I have, let's write it over here. So now I have 6 over rad 3 equals whatever the value for the short side length is. All right, now, as I know, I cannot leave a radical in the denominator, in the bottom. So what I have to do is I have to multiply the denominator to both the bottom and the top. What this will do, over here, what this will do, it will turn out to be 6 times rad 3 on the top, because I can't really do much with that. And when I multiply radicals, right, I put whatever's underneath the radicals together. So it becomes rad 3 times rad 3, which is rad 3 times rad 3 equals s. Okay? Now I clean it up again. So I get 6 rad 3 times, 3 times 3 is 9. So the radical of 9. 9 is a perfect square. So I can get 6 rad 3 over the radical of, the square root of 9, rather, or the radical of 9 is 3. and that's going to equal S. Now I can simply divide 6 divided by 3 because they're both outside of a radical. 6 divided by 3 will give me 2. 3 divided by 3 will give me 1, so that's 2 over 1. 2 divided by 1 is simply 2, which leaves 2 times rad 3 equaling S. So that is the length of the short side. So now I can say the short side value is 2 rad 3, and I'm going to put that back over here where my A is, 2 rad 3, okay? And now I have enough information to fill out the hypotenuse, which is C. So now I'm going to erase this to get space again. Go ahead and pause it if you need, or rewind the video if you need to see any of that. You see, it's not that difficult, it's just very tedious. All right, let's find out now what my hypotenuse is. My hypotenuse is always going to be, this is over here, it's always blue. The hypotenuse is always 2 times whatever the short side is, S. Well, we know what the short side is now, right? The short side is 2 rad 3. So I've got the 2 and I've got times rad 3. And now I can do basic math. Because the 2 2's are outside of a radical, I can multiply them. So my hypotenuse will equal 2 times 2 is 4. And my rad 3 just stays where it is because nothing happened to it. 4 rad 3. And so my hypotenuse is 4 rad 3. There's nothing else I can do. There's no denominator. There's no numerator. So my C value for my hypotenuse is, oh, sorry, same color. 4 times rad 3. Nope, I messed that up again. Blue. And remember, the unit of measure is in feet, so these are all feet. And that's it. My short side is 2 rad 3. My long side is 6 foot. And my hypotenuse is 4 rad 3. I hope this helped. Hope it clarified. And we'll see you in the next video.